Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining this ServiceNow Security webinar on what you need to know to secure your instances. So I'll start by introducing myself and my co-presenter for this webinar. My name's Dan Goatley. I'm part of ServiceNow's Customer Security and Trust team. I've been with ServiceNow for about 11 months, so recently joined. Prior to that, a 20-year career in technology, more than half of which has been in security, both as a cloud provider and a cloud consumer as well. So I'm joined today by Sebastian. Sebastian, do you want to give yourself an intro?
Yes, thank you, Dan. So same as Dan, also in ServiceNow since October 2022, so near 2 years now, and my career was more in security operation and since 20 years.
Thanks, Seb. So this is going to be delivered in a traditional webinar format. So that means participants, your microphones and video will be switched off. If you wish to ask us questions throughout the presentation, you are free to do so. Please use the Q&A function that should be available to you through Zoom. Seb will be managing the question and responses through most of the presentation, so should be able to answer as we go. That's where I find my slides won't advance. There we go. Right, so for anyone who's attended a ServiceNow presentation or webinar before, you'll probably be familiar with our standard safe harbor notice. In summary, what it says is that we may make some forward-looking statements around features of the application that may be coming in future releases. Where we do so, you should not use that as a basis for making any kind of purchasing decision, as we can't guarantee that anything that we speculate about in terms of future capability will come as promised. So on to the actual presentation. So there's three main learning outcomes that we're looking for you to take away from this webinar. Number one is knowing more about how to secure your ServiceNow instance, as the title suggests. Number two is recognizing where you are in your security journey and how you move forward. And number three is understanding what tools and resources are available to you to help you in that journey. So just to make sure that we're all speaking the same language, we're going to just confirm what we mean by a ServiceNow instance, because it's something that we're going to refer to multiple times throughout the presentation. So ServiceNow operates using a single tenant architecture, meaning that each customer gets their own copy or multiple copies of the Now platform running in the cloud. And each one of these copies is known as an instance. So each instance can run multiple applications side by side. So a single instance could potentially be hosting your ITSM, your HR, your CSM tools. A common way that customers use multiple instances is to separate different environments for production and development and test purposes. So again, each one of these would be referred to as a single instance of the Now platform. So moving on to how ServiceNow delivers our services. We operate a paired data center hosting model in which all of your production instances are replicated across a primary and a secondary data center in your chosen region. So in this model, your production instances are kept in sync using asynchronous database replication. In the event of a disruption, ServiceNow initiates a failover process which redirects all traffic transparently to the secondary DC. And we refer to this as our advanced high availability architecture. And within each data center, customers share physical hardware without the use of virtualization, but where you have a dedicated database and application services for your instance only. What this results in is a logical single tenancy model whereby all customers' data is isolated from each other, and it's impossible for your information to commingle with that of any other customer. In terms of physical security, our hardware is hosted within co-location data centers operated by top-tier providers like Equinix, Vantage, and Digital Realty. These operators provide ServiceNow with a secure and reliable space to operate in. The data centers are highly secure facilities with 24/7 security guards, CCTV, multiple levels of entry controls, and very strict procedures for physically entering the facility. ServiceNow data centers are highly available facilities. We have redundant network, electrical and mechanical systems, as you might expect. And they feature a hardened exterior perimeter with defense in depth, provided by various access control boundaries, like fences, bollards, and man traps. Within each of the data centers, all ServiceNow equipment is stored in one or more dedicated anonymous cage spaces or private suites, where only ServiceNow personnel have access to these. The details of the individual data centers may vary slightly, but all facilities have very similar operating characteristics. And in all cases, by contract, the data center providers must be either ISO 27001 accredited, and or they must conduct regular SOC 2 Type 2 audits. So what you see here is a map of our hosting locations. So we have 18 data center pairs around the globe to service our customers in different geographic regions and to help them meet their regulatory and sovereignty requirements. We rotate support operations from our offices around the world in a follow-the-sun model, meaning we can offer 24/7/365 truly global technical support. This, in combination with our advanced high availability architecture and our highly available infrastructure, means we've got an extremely high measured uptime, and we're able to offer a contractual uptime commitment of 99.8%. Over to Seb for the next couple of slides. You're on mute, Seb.
Okay, thank you, Dan. So on this slide, you can see how it, in fact, our architecture's ServiceNow platform regarding all the security capabilities. So ServiceNow provides comprehensive and broader set of security controls and configuration. You can keep your ServiceNow platform extremely secure and compliant with security regulation. So on this page, you can see, for example, basics security controls like login, authentication, ACL, audit, logs, and a lot of basics feature, a lot of things regarding authentication and authorization, and also audit and monitoring with monitoring and logs and audit capabilities. And for encryption and key management, ServiceNow provide out-of-the-box encryption, but also provide options regarding secrets management, multi-level encryption, application level, and cloud encryption also as an option. So first question we have for you today is what is your level of confidence in securing a new ServiceNow instance? So are you extremely confident, somewhat confident, not all, not very confident, or I have no idea where to begin?
Somewhere in the middle so far. Oh, someone's extremely confident. Great. I'll invite that person to carry on the rest of the presentation for us. So, yeah, fairly good. Nobody yet saying they've no idea where to begin, so that's kind of a positive indication. So we'll leave that poll running just for a sec, but we'll carry on with the slides. So each customer's on their own path with their ServiceNow security journey. It sounds a little bit cliched, but security is not a one-size-fits-all, and that's why we use this phrase. Security is a journey, and it's one that each customer takes at their own pace. So to that end, we've broken the recommendations in this webinar down into a logical progression from crawl through walk to run. beginning with basic resources and best practices in the crawl stage through to more advanced features and capabilities that you can explore in the run stage. So let's get started with crawl. And here we're going to talk about security resources you have access to and how you follow our best practices to begin your security journey. So beginning with resources, we have a collection of different services targeted at potential customers wishing to do some initial due diligence, existing customers who need to stay abreast of patching and security matters as it relates to the platform, and to us as a supplier, or partners looking to assist and onboard new customers. So these are the trust site on ServiceNow.com, the trust center on Now Support, and the ServiceNow partner portal, respectively. So for this webinar, I'm going to focus on the trust center because this is a resource that both existing customers and prospects can access. And it gives you access to some really key information to help you stay informed about security matters that affect your instance, as well as providing you access to information about ServiceNow that can really help streamline your supply chain assurance process. And it's that point specifically that we address using the core compliance portal. The ServiceNow's core compliance portal enables customers to self-serve documentation to help support internal audit and assessment requirements, prepare for on-site audits, and address regulatory requirements. So core is a fantastic resource, and it's one that Seb and I probably refer to at least a few times daily. You will find that we are incredibly transparent about our processes and procedures, and we share that through core. So core includes, to name a few things, our certifications and attestations, our SOC 1 Type 2 and SOC 2 Type 2 reports, many of our internal policies and standard operating procedures, the certifications of our data center providers, and a number of pre-filled vendor risk questionnaires that should help you really kind of get a jump start on your own vendor assurance process. The core access is for customers and partners, and it's provisioned to the Now Support account holders by the customer's primary customer administrator who manages your ServiceNow instance. So you can provide access to core to people within your own organization at your discretion. Best news is core comes at no cost to you. It's completely free. Moving on to another free resource. So created for customers, prospects, partners, and ServiceNow support staff, the ServiceNow Security Best Practices Guide is an easy-to-follow guide to the main security features provided by the ServiceNow platform and how best to use them to secure your instance. So the guide is specifically aimed at those who are tasked with the responsibility of keeping your ServiceNow instance secure. The guide covers many of the same topics that we're going to cover in this presentation, and it's in a similar crawl, walk, run format, beginning with a getting started section on essential tools and guidance. And it's from that section I'm going to pick out a couple of items to talk through today in this webinar. So firstly, a very important topic, patching. As with any software application, ServiceNow instances must undergo regular patching to maintain security and performance and address emerging vulnerabilities. The ServiceNow patching program helps you ensure your platform software is kept up to date, and you can take advantage of our automated patching service to assist you with this. Patching remediates known security vulnerabilities, and it's an essential component of any vulnerability management process, of course. But it also enables you to confirm with the ServiceNow end-of-life policy. So ServiceNow usually releases 2 major version updates per year, and we only support the current version and 1 prior release version, so N and N-1. Older versions are considered end of life. We no longer support them, and they must be upgraded by a specific deadline to ensure the security of both the customer instance, as in your customer instance, and those of all other customers as well. After this date, if the customer instance has not been updated, it will be upgraded automatically to protect you and our other customers. So the second item from the best practice guide I'm going to mention is around maintenance of your security contacts. So your security contacts are who we will reach out to in your organization in the event that we need to communicate information in relation to security issues, security alerts, or details about important software updates. these are also the first people we would contact in the event of a security incident affecting your instance. So it's really key that you keep these contacts up to date and ensure that the individuals named have the authority to act on the information that they may be receiving from us. Our recommendations regarding the contacts are that you include at least 2 information security personnel who are authorized by your organization to discuss security matters or security-related information and events. If you have an email distribution list for your security team, we recommend that you add that as well. The named contacts should have the ability to quickly reach out to business owners and leadership as required, have a familiarity and understanding of the ServiceNow platform and how your organization is actually utilizing it. And of course, they need to be aware of the types of data and the associated security concerns around that data that's hosted in your ServiceNow instance. And perhaps most importantly, these are people who are willing to accept security-related emails and phone calls from ServiceNow Security team, which could be in the middle of the night. So these are people who must be prepared for that. And please remember, this is not a once and done activity. You should regularly review the contacts you've provided in case of staff joiners and leavers and changes over time. So now we're moving on to the walk stage of the security journey. We're going to build on that previous stage by going a little deeper into some of the security concepts, features, and tooling that's available to you. So we'll start this section off by talking about the shared responsibility model. So this is a concept I'm sure many of you will be familiar with if you're familiar with cloud services. As is a common concept across all cloud service providers. When you buy a cloud service, depending on the nature of the service you buy, i.e. whether it's software platform or infrastructure as a service, there are always security controls that are the responsibility of the cloud service provider, so in this case us, and some that are the responsibility of the cloud service consumer, in this case you. The levels of responsibility shift between provider and consumer based on the nature of the service procured. What you see on the screen now is the ServiceNow shared responsibility model, which identifies which controls are the responsibility of the customer to manage, which are the responsibility of us at ServiceNow, and which sit with our co-location data center operators, and also which are shared across one or more parties. Employee vetting, for example, is a shared responsibility in that all parties need to ensure their employees are trusted, as all play a part in the delivery and operation and ultimately the security of the service. It's really important that you take time to read and understand the shared security model so that you recognize where you as a customer are responsible for implementing the controls necessary to keep your instance secure. And you'll find that there's a link to the full document in the presentation, which you'll be able to access later. So just to follow on from that point a little, in this slide, we cover the security capabilities that exist within the platform. And we've broken them down into 3 categories. Firstly, invisibles, the things that ServiceNow puts in place to keep the platform secure. Configurables, the security capabilities available to you as the customer as part of the core platform capability. And then enhanceables, the additional capabilities that specific customers may choose to procure to meet their individual use cases. I'll hand over now to Seb for the next couple of slides.
Yes, so why we are discussing about this topic, these items today with you is, in fact, we can mention 3 main purposes. First is, of course, to reduce common security risk. The second one is more how to understand roles in meeting compliance to industry standard and legal regulation, for example, with GDPR, data privacy, and so on, and of course, all the privacy concerns. And the last one is one of the best thing about this is, of course, to keep your instance available in all circumstances. So it's why we take time with you today to take to check everything, all the security controls. So stability is for you and for us the best, the most important thing. So second question, what is your experience with ServiceNow Security Center? Never heard of it. Heard of it, but never used or use it regularly.
Apologies, I forgot to share the results from the first poll there, so just briefly put them up on the screen. Hopefully our next poll will be coming up shortly. Oh, it's not one. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we've got a few people have heard of it, never used it. One person using it regularly. I expect that's our expert from the first question as well. So we're kind of somewhere around the heard of it but never used it. I think it's probably our. Here we go. Right, I'll end that poll and share the results. There we go. Right, so 33% never heard of it, 44% heard of it but never used it, 22% use it regularly. So good time to start talking about it then. So for those of you who are not familiar with Security Center, it's actually a collection of different features. Security Center is a free tool, again. It's available from the Utah release onwards, and it's automatically installed from Vancouver onwards. Security Center is intended for use by your ServiceNow platform and security admins rather than your wider security team. So there are 6 tools included, and these include the security hardening feature, which provides guidance on how to reduce the attack surface of your instance by configuring it as securely as you can, while still enabling the functionality that you need. There's the security scanner, which looks for potential misconfigurations and insecure behaviors to enable you to address these and reduce risk as a result. Best practices, which combines both ServiceNow and wider industry best practices into a format that allows you to track and manage your application of these over time. Critical updates, which highlights important upcoming updates for the platform, helps you prepare for these, and helps you track them to completion. Security metrics, which gives you near real-time monitoring of your instance activity for any insecure behaviors or potential security threats. And finally, security learning, which brings together a whole host of published resources to assist your administrators in learning the features of the platform, as well as making them aware of the external regulatory requirements that you might have to meet. Security Center is being continually developed, and we're seeing new features launch almost every few months at the moment. And there's some really big updates planned for the X and Y releases of the Now platform. So I'd really encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. And also look for our dedicated webinars on Security Center, which go into the features in much more depth. Back to Seth for the next couple of slides.
So regarding login and monitoring, if you can switch then to the next. Thank you. So regarding login and monitoring, it's also an important part. And in fact, it occurs at 2 layers in the environment. First, on the customer side, and second on ServiceNow, and managed by ServiceNow. On the left, the customer part, in the instance, there is a lot of detailed transaction log when our customer can check who access to the instance, what is used, what's paged, what export, what data are exported, for example, what form, which form is if you by a user, and it's provided a very detailed log available and stored in the database. So it's protected, not modifiable by user or administrator, and by default available by your administrator on the instance. Of course, you also have the capability to connect the ServiceNow instance to your CM or export, in fact, files to integrate and to import the file in your monitoring system or login system through syslog, for example. So it was the first part. The second part is what we manage internally at ServiceNow. Of course, we also have log monitoring on the infrastructure. It permits to, of course, detect and take also things, perform action in case of security threat, for example. And to give you example, we have also our proper CM and all our security capability like IDS and firewalls and all the things, of course, for forward the logs in our CM. So it's possible for us to monitor that and to detect, for example, security attacks. The next topic is also a very important topic. It's all the identification, authentication, and authorization part. And as Dan showed just before, this part is really on customer responsibility in the shared responsibility matrix. And the first step is, of course, to authenticate your user and your administrator on the platform. So two possibilities. The first is to use an external SSO, for example, and to connect the ServiceNow instance to your IDP or LDAP or another system to, in fact, delegate and use an external things to authenticate your user. Of course, it's also possible to use a local database authentication on the ServiceNow platform. And of course, it's possible to use external SSO for some users and local authentication for administrator users, for example, admin users. Of course, in case of the local database authentication is used, ServiceNow provide also MFA and security controls to secure the connections. So it's the first step, and the second part is the authorization. Authorization is also very important to give the user the proper role and access to the instances, depending of which application they need, ITSM or other application. So it's possible, of course, to segregate all the users depending on their business and what they need. And for that, the RBAC is used. And also in the last release, we have added capability around ABAC to have more security attributes also to manage more precisely the user and the access. So ACL is very, very important, and we recommend to start with this topic at the beginning. Regarding email security, there is two possibilities. By default, you can use ServiceNow email infrastructure and capabilities. And when you use ServiceNow infrastructure, of course, it's also possible to secure, for example, to restrict file types or restrict domain, to set up filters, and of course to activate and use SPF DKIM and DMARC. The second possibility is we offered is to use your email infrastructure. So it's very easy to change and to use for inbound and outbound your email infrastructure and manage your security and so on directly on your infrastructure, on your email infrastructure.
Thank you, Seb. So moving into the final stage of our security journey now, the run stage. So here we're going to review some of the capabilities you can leverage to meet those explicit security policy requirements that we typically find customers have in place in relation to cloud services. There are also controls which you may leverage to meet specific compliance or legislative requirements for your industry and gain more control over data access. Lastly, we'll cover the penetration test program in place to give you the assurance that your instance and the platform as a whole is configured securely. So first, we're going to cover a couple of features that fall under the configurables category, which we talked about a few slides back, meaning these are things that are available to you as part of the core platform. The first of these provides you with the ability to classify the personal data or any sensitive data, in fact, within your instance, which of course is a key part of being compliant with data protection regulations and other things, as you need to know exactly where that sensitive data exists and how much of it you have in order to be able to apply the necessary and appropriate controls to protect it. So the data classification engine allows you to use, assign, and create your own classifications in addition to the out-of-the-box ones that are provided as standard. So some fields are classified out of the box for you, where it's obvious that they will be holding personal data, so like names in customer records, for example. And as you can see in the screenshot here, you've got the ability to visualize that classified data to give you that necessary intelligence of the volumes you have in your instance. The data classification also enables some of the enhanceable features related to data privacy, which we'll talk about in a bit. So it's really worth exploring if you are processing personal data within your instance, the use of those classification tools. So onto another core capability now, column level encryption, or CLE, is an application level encryption product that's available as part of the core platform capability. Now, CLE is used to permit and deny access to encrypted data at the field level based on a user's role. The core version of CLE can be used to implement simple encryption use cases where there's no encryption of data used in automation or reporting, as encrypted fields are not supported for those kinds of use cases. CLE can be used to encrypt a limited number of field types and create up to 5 module access policies, which are used to determine which roles can access which data. And those encrypted fields are completely invisible to the users if they don't have the role that grants them access to the data. So we find it's typically used to maintain confidentiality around sensitive data fields within tables which users would otherwise need to be able to access to do their job. Now we're moving into features which fall within the enhanceables category that we referenced earlier. So the most comprehensive of these comes in the form of the ServiceNow Vault bundle. Now, Vault is a collection of different premium security features aimed at customers who require more stringent security controls in place because they process very sensitive data in their instance, or they need to meet tougher legislative, regulatory, or internal policy requirements than the average ServiceNow customer would. We're not going to go into all of the features of Vault in detail in this webinar, as we normally offer our customers a dedicated session to discuss these, which you can request via your account team if you feel that it's something of interest. So we're going to cover 3 of the more popular features in the next few slides. And these are all features that can be purchased as a standalone capability as well as a part of the Vault bundle. So the first of these features is platform encryption, which is itself a bundle of 2 products. cloud encryption and column-level encryption enterprise. The cloud encryption provides transparent database volume-level encryption at rest with minimal impact on the Now platform user experience. Cloud encryption leverages the Now platform's encryption key management framework, which routes the encryption keys in our FIPS 142 compliant HSM. Customers can choose to use either a ServiceNow managed key or provide their own. And when using their own key, customers can also utilize the withdraw and resupply feature, which enables you to fully lock your instance by withdrawing your key. That effectively shuts out everyone, including ServiceNow, from being able to access the instance. Column-level encryption enterprise, as you may expect from the name, brings enhanced capability to the core CLE feature by increasing the number of supported fields, lifting the limit on the number of different module access policies that can be applied, and it reduces the impact on automation and orchestration because these things are supported with CLE Enterprise. It also supports the customer managed key feature, as is the case with cloud encryption. So ServiceNow Data Privacy provides a tool to protect sensitive data like PII and PHI by combining three functions: data discovery, data classification, and data anonymization. These ensure the privacy of confidential data and increase your regulatory compliance. Data discovery allows customers to use out-of-the-box or custom regular expressions to search your instance for sensitive data, which is then cataloged so that you can take action. Those actions could be to delete, update, even ignore, or might more likely apply a classification to that data so that you can better manage it using the inbuilt classification engine that we discussed previously. Data anonymization works with that classified data, allowing you to obfuscate or remove sensitive data at the field level to meet use cases such as right to be forgotten requests, or where you need to clone data into a sub-production environment without copying the sensitive information, but also preserving the structure and the format of that data to facilitate testing and development activities. And lastly, the Vault Bundle also includes Zero Trust Access. So Zero Trust Access brings additional capability to the adaptive authentication feature, which is available as part of the core platform tooling. Adaptive authentication allows customers to establish policy criteria shown here in white on the left side of the diagram, such as IP address filters. They're executed either pre or post user authentication to determine whether they are allowed or denied access, or required to provide an additional factor of authentication. Zero Trust Access enhances this feature by adding the additional feature criteria shown on the left in red, and an additional outcome of the policy decision, which is to allow access to the instance, but dynamically reduce the access, so remove some of the roles that the user have. So moving on from Vault features. Another important aspect of a comprehensive security strategy is conducting regular independent penetration tests to gain verification that your instance is secure. ServiceNow engages independent penetration testers to assess the security of the platform as a whole. Testing is carried out at the same cadence as our family release schedule, meaning that this takes place at least twice a year. In the interest of full transparency, we share the executive summary of every test we carry out with our customers. These test reports can be accessed via the core compliance portal. Customers are also permitted to carry out a penetration test of their own instance once a year. And this can be done this is to ensure that you get the best value from that activity. You must ensure that you have followed our hardening guide and applied all of the latest patches prior to conducting the tests. Tests need to be requested in advance and scheduled so that we're prepared to manage the resulting alerts this may cause in our protective monitoring tools. And the scope of this testing includes unauthenticated scanning and assessments of our mobile app. More information is provided in the customer penetration testing policy, which again is available via the core compliance portal. So that wraps up our discussion around the security journey. And we have another poll question for you now to see where our audience feels they currently are on that journey. Okay, thank you for answering. We've got 67% feel they're in crawl and 33% in walk, none in run. So hopefully this is the right level of information that you need then to progress your way through this this journey. Over to you, Seb.
Yes, thank you. Here's a static example of what might look like an instance hardening process using many topics we have discussed before. To do that, we recommend that you use the Security Center to perform this achievement. ServiceNow follows the best practices, in particular defense in depth. That means it's normal to find many recommendations for many topics in line with the best practices. So on this example, you can see the first step is, for example, to restrict access to the application. For that, you can use IP range-based authentication, adaptive authentication, zero trust access also, strong authentication with MFA, enable also ServiceNow access control plugin if you would like to control and authorize ServiceNow to access to your instance only for in case of incident or if you need help. The second step can be to restrict access within the application. So an important part is ACL because by default, ServiceNow provide one configuration, but each customer can need to manage and restrict, control, of course, the ACL configuration to adapt that on each business purpose and business need. The third part is operational security, using the ServiceNow, using the Security Center, but also using the logs and monitoring. For example, using the log and to connect to your CM and import this log in your system. So also the next topic, integration with existing tools. And after, can be a topic about data security with encryption, with data privacy, data discovery, data anonymization, and of course, a lot of other integration about security, security of the mid server, security about certificate, about code signing, to sign your configuration and verify that the signature is valid before using a configuration or run a script, for example. After, there is also client-side configuration regarding TLS cipher configuration or other optional capabilities. For example, we provide in the Vault bundle. So to do that, it's very easy with the Security Center. You have guided action and step. There is, of course, different level of maturity to help you to start with the first level and increase your level of security on the instance. So a new question. After this presentation, what is the likelihood, sorry, you will use the Security Center moving forward? Not likely, possibly I need to understand more, or I can't wait to use the security center.
Well, we're definitely seeing a trend towards people being unable to wait to use the security center, which is great. It's exactly what we want to see. So 60%. Nobody's saying they don't want to use it, which is even better. So thank you for that. Get rid of the poll. Okay. So here's the call for action. If you're in the crawl stage, we want you to understand where to find your security docs. If you're in the walk stage, we want you to use those basic out-of-the-box security features. And if you're in the run stage, we want you to be able to explore and determine whether you want to use any of those advanced security features. Leverage our resources, use those things that we make available to you for free, and follow those best practice security guides as best as you can. One more poll question. Going back to the question that we asked at the beginning of the presentation, now that you've seen this webinar, what's your level of confidence in securing a ServiceNow instance? Or even split there between extremely confident, somewhat confident. Oh no, we've moved up. So we're in the somewhat confident. I'll take that as an improvement. There we go, 67% of you somewhat confident. Nobody in the not very confident or no idea where to begin, so that's good. So, Seb, do we have any unanswered questions?
No, I don't have more questions at this time.
No. Okay, so it just remains then for from Seb and I to thank you for joining us today, for giving up your time to listen to us talk.